New York people won't bow down to anybody. Nobody's going to knock us down. It's just like we just get up, dust ourselves off and fight and keep going.
From the 9/11 Memorial Museum, this is Our City, Our Story, a series where New Yorkers talk about their city, what it means to be a New Yorker, and how September 11th changed that. I'm Jenny Pachuki. Roger Corrado is one of those old-school Italian guys who was born and raised in Hoboken. He's a big guy with a big heart and is recently retired from a successful career trading on Wall Street. He may not see himself this way, but as far as New Yorkers go, Roger Corrado could be straight out of Central Casting. This is a point of personal fascination to me. How do New Yorkers see themselves as New Yorkers, and what exactly does that mean? So I think people from outside of the city have their ideas of like New York characters. What's a New Yorker to you?
I think the most surprising thing that what people would say, and maybe you realize this too, is how actually courteous and friendly New Yorkers are. I think people come to New York with a fear for the first time that it's like a rough and tumble type town. The problem being maybe our accents are a little, and I did some like CNBC work when I was vice chairman of the exchange. I did TV. And, it's funny, they used to tell me, you have to kind of like tone down your accent. And I would be like, what accent?
Corrado talked about his long relationship with the World Trade Center. He watched the towers rise from Hoboken, and when he was 19, he started working on Wall Street. By September 2001, he was working as the vice chairman of the New York Board of Trade in an office located in 4 World Trade Center. What do you remember about the World Trade Center?
From 81 to 2001, I was literally working in 4 World Trade Center. 4 World Trade Center was literally attached to the South Tower. So it was pretty much, what does that span, about, 20 years of my life, in the trade centers. We did a lot of business companies I had worked for were housed in the towers. I did go to World Trade Center. I did go to Windows of the World. I took my children to the observation deck. So it really was a structure that, was a part of me, growing up, as a kid, remembering basically the towers going up and then spending 20 years of my working life in them. Let's just say they were something very special in my life.
This relationship with the World Trade Center and so much more would change on September 11th, 2001. But actually, Corrado's September 11th story started on Monday, September 10th.
I had went to the Yankee game the night before. There was big sports going on. The Yankees were doing well. Roger Clemens was going for his 20th victory against the Red Sox that day. And, the Giants were on Monday night playing in Denver. So it was a big sports night. But we went out, we, a group of traders that all worked with me in 4 World Trade Center. We met at Yankee Stadium, and people don't realize, because the morning of September 11th was a spectacular, gorgeous day. No humidity. It was crystal clear blue skies. So people don't realize the night before there was a terrible, thunder showers. It was really a lot of rain and everything. And it probably just cleared the way for such a beautiful day for the next day. But for my, thing, it was like we got rained out of the game. So we wound up going to a steak place. We probably drank too much.
This is a story that I have so often heard. People who were rained out of the Yankees game resorted to watching the New York Giants play the Denver Broncos. It was an away game in Denver. The game went late, past midnight on the East Coast, and there was a lot of action in the fourth quarter. So consequently, the morning of September 11th, a lot of people were running behind. And this is one of those mornings when running 20 minutes late to work could, and did, mean the difference between life and death.
So I was running a little late. I had taken my kids to school. I was probably, I would always meet a couple of friends in this neighborhood bagel store, which is still there on 7th and Washington in Hoboken. But that morning, my phone was going off, and I was getting messages, and I didn't even pick up. So now I hop in. I take the one call, which was from an associate of mine who was already in our offices at 4 World Trade on the 9th floor, not on the trading floor. We had a private office upstairs, 1 floor above. And he had informed me, that a small plane hit one of the towers, the first tower. So, I think he, as anybody else who then I spoke to, thought it was just an accidental thing, and no suspicions even arose at that point. So I proceeded to hop in my car and rush down to the PATH trains in Hoboken. Now, I parked my car literally right by the entrance to the PATH trains. I'm running over to get on the train, and I hear the roar of a jet, literally like over our head, and proceeded to watch it just smash right into the second tower.
He got in touch with the people in his office while he still had cell reception, picked up his kids from school and took them to his father's house, and then went to the local cigar store that he had designated as the meeting point for the people in his firm. Luckily, everyone survived. After that, he found himself asking the same question that so many New Yorkers were asking themselves at that moment. What do I do now?
I guess the first thing as an exchange or as an individual, you want to be resilient. Think of it like, I guess, you want to be battle ready. You want to be proven, okay, you just did something terrible to us, but, we're still standing. We had a recovery facility, which we had built in 1994. We had purchased space in Long Island City, Queens because of the bombing from 1993. So now we were already making a move to send over our tech guys and get the Verizon people set up. We were actually ready to trade Tuesday night by 10 p.m. So if we had to have an emergency session, because we were, world markets.
The September 11th attacks were attacks on United States symbols. Terrorists targeted places that represented our centers of capitalism, military, and likely our government. And the threat to Wall Street was very real. The market didn't open on September 11th, and it remained closed until Monday, September 17th, the longest closing since 1933. Lower Manhattan was like a war zone, and the effort to reopen Wall Street and prevent the collapse of the economy was monumental. It involved the work of multiple agencies and individuals, from the sanitation workers who cleared the area of dust and debris, to those who worked to restore power and utilities, to the NYPD officers who greeted workers as they arrived. On the morning of September 17th, 6 days after the most significant terrorist attack in our country's history, first responders rang the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ opening bells.
Come Monday, it was kind of like back to business. So Monday the 17th, we literally we went that weekend. You're talking only a few days after the 11th. So we went on Saturday and Sunday. You tested your phone lines. We had a device kind of like let's say in the World Trade Centers, we had, let's say 20 trading pits. In the recovery place, we had 3 trading pits. So now you had to do almost like a coal miner shift. You had to come in shifts. So sugar would be, let's say, from 11 to 12, and coffee would be from 12 to 1, and orange juice would be like from 3 to 4, You know what? I guess in a sense that also helped me because, if I didn't have that, if we didn't have the recovery facility, if you were like, okay, what are you doing now? Take some time off and sit at home. I'm not that type, we had to prove. And it probably goes back to one of your first questions. What's a New Yorker like? That's what a New Yorker's like. It's the truth. It's like New York people won't bow down to anybody. As you say, like New York, nobody's going to knock us down. We just get up, dust ourselves off and fight and keep going.
Corrado's story at its core is the story of the resilience of New York and the resilience of those in the city who worked to assure that the terrorists would not accomplish their goal of doing lasting damage to the economy and to the American spirit. It's one of those often forgotten stories of triumph. The 9/11 Memorial Museum is not a place that Corrado had wanted to go prior to last summer when we met. And when he finally did visit, 14 years later, it evoked a wealth of memories that he wasn't expecting.
Everyone, I guess, close to me, my family, could see that it still bothers me. Obviously, it does. I don't know. I guess it's something that you'll never forget, and you didn't want to come, to open up any bad memories. But I honestly felt like, it was some good memories, too. So I really appreciated coming today and seeing that. You forget a lot of the good times you had by the one day. We had a lot of fun in there. We had a lot of good friends. We did great business. It was a big part of my life. It defined pretty much who I was. And, I missed that. I don't think the commodities were ever the same after that day. I don't know that I intentionally avoided it. Things take time. For me, it took 14 years.
From the 9/11 Memorial Museum, this is Our City, Our Story. I'm Jenny Pachuki, series host, writer, and producer with with executive producers Michael Frazier and Carl Creco.